gonna say, that's not.
Okay.
Welcome everyone for our council meeting for Monday, December 11th. It is our last council meeting before the holiday season. Note to members of the public, all cell phones, pagers, and/or PDAs to be turned off. Additionally, for your information, please be advised that we are audio-video recording this meeting. Regrets to Councillor Terry Bell. He is in Fort Erie tonight talking with the Fort Erie Council about our additional representative for Regional Council. Would you all stand for the singing of O Canada and remain standing for the opening petition? Councillor Bosma? O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all thy sons command, with glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Councillor Bosman, please.
We gather together here today, intent on doing good work. We seek to represent fairly and well those who have given us this task. May our efforts be blessed with insight, guided by understanding and wisdom. We seek to serve with respect for all. May our personal faith give us strength to act honestly and well in all matters before us. Amen.
Welcome, everyone. Good to see you. Councillors, is there a change in order of items on tonight's agenda? Madam Clerk, seeing none, we'll move on to disclosure of pecuniary interest and/or conflict of interest. Seeing none, obviously there is mine, and that is, help me out here, Madam Clerk, except P15117, is that it? Okay, reports of committee. Oh, I'm sorry. Mayor Douglas Joyner, item P5117, report RFDT 0417, 2017 Downtown Smithville Sustainable CIP Commercial Facade Improvement Funding Program update, as my family rents a portion of one of the buildings that have applied for the facade improvement funding. Okay, we'll move on to request to address items on the agenda. Is there any members of the gallery who would like to address items on tonight's agenda? Okay, seeing none. We'll move on to appointment and presentations, and for that I will move over to the podium. I think what we'll do right now is we'll actually ask Hannah Moffett, Lauren Moore, and Kira Smith to come forward. And if you could just stand up front there, ladies. Oh, actually, yeah, right up here in front. Right in front of your posters would be good. Awesome. Thank you. These three young ladies are here tonight because, as you can see right behind them, and you're blocking your beautiful posters there, what they've done is they've helped the Township of West Lincoln design our season's greeting card for this year. And we put out every year, we put it out to all the elementary schools here in West Lincoln, and we ask the students between the grades, grade 1 through 8, to do a poster, and we give them a theme, and we ask them what they think Happy Holidays would be in the Township of West Lincoln. This year, as I said earlier, we have Hannah Moffett, Lauren Moore, and Kira Smith, and this is what they've designed. And actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to present a certificate of recognition, and on each one of these certificates is the actual card, is the actual season's greeting card. Okay? So you got to tell me who's who. Who's Hannah? You're Hannah. There you go. And Lauren. say the same. This is a certificate of recognition awarded to, in this case, Hannah Moffett, in appreciation of your greeting card design presented by the municipality of the Township of West Lincoln, dated this 11th day of December 2017. Congratulations to all three of them. Great job. Let's put our hands together for this. And we have these for you guys to actually take home too. We can use them. So Lauren, yours. Okay. Go. Okay, very good. How about we come in the middle here? We have a quick photo. You guys turn your posters around so we can show everybody. Good. There we go. And tell everybody what school you're from. Gainsborough Public School, home of the Wildcats, right? Yeah. Good job. I want to say something real quick too as well. Oh, I've got one of these for you too. Is a Township of West Lincoln pin. You're welcome. There you go. And there you go. And I brought this in too, just so councilors, if you haven't got your Christmas present for your special loved one at home, the Wildcat Grub, Recipes for Wildcat Grub, Gainsborough Community Cookbook, volume number 2 is on sale. I don't know if there's too many left though. I think there might be only about 40 or 50 of them left, so you got to get them soon. But it's a very good book, and there's a lot of good recipes in here, and it's a great fundraiser. And Mr. Anderson? Very good. I want to introduce Mr. Anderson too as well, Scott Anderson as the principal of Gainsborough Public School. Thanks for coming out, everybody, on this snowy night. Please be careful going home. Okay, thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a great Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas.
All the best. Keep up the school spirit in Gainsborough. You're welcome.
Thanks.
Put it there on the table there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, council, we'll move on to confirmation of minutes. Council minutes, regular read November 27, 2017. Confidential minutes are under separate cover. Councilor Rayner, you have that resolution, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm glad that the rest of us stayed. Moved by myself and second by Councilor Trombetta that the minutes of the open session portion of November 27, 2017 regular council meeting be accepted, and that the confidential minutes relating to the closed session portion of the November 27, 2017 regular council meeting be accepted, and that the minutes remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with exemptions provided in the Municipal Freedoms of Information and Protection of Privacy Act.
Councilors, you've heard the resolution. Moved by Councilor Rayner and second by Councilor Trombetta. Is there any questions or comments? Councilor Balsma?
Yeah, so it's, I think I can say this without going into close, but it's with regards to an omission in the confidential portion of the minutes. I think that there's a notable one that had to do with a discussion on the item number 2 that was discussed in that time. And so I would like to see that omission put back in or reconciled. So perhaps, and I'd be willing at this time to say that maybe we put the confidential portion on hold, and then we can deal with it closed at the end of the council.
Okay. CAO, acting CAO?
Through you, members of council, it would be appropriate to refer the closed session minutes to closed session. We can approve the open session minutes and then refer the closed.
Fair enough, yep.
Deal with the adjustment in closed and then come up and rise and deal with the closed session minutes.
Okay.
So we'll do a referral motion.
So moved.
Seconded by Councilor Gannon.
That's to refer the closed session portion of the minutes.
Correct.
And we'll vote on that.
All those in favor of voting it to closed session? I'm little bit in the dark as you are, Councilor Rayner, on this, so.
Yeah.
I know that, I appreciate the councilor's trying to be cryptic here for a reason, right?
Yeah.
So we'll get the.
We'll get to it.
And
Yep.
and now we need to vote on the open session
Yes.
portion of the
The open
minutes?
session, any questions or comments on the open session? Seeing no questions or comments, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, public meetings under the Planning Act, December 4, 2017 minutes, resolution. Councillor Ganand, you have that resolution, please.
Yes, I do, thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Bilsma that the minutes of the public meetings held on December 4th, 2017, under Section 34 of the Planning Act, with respect to A, zoning bylaw amendment, Jeffrey and Anita Green, file number 1601-015-17, and B, zoning bylaw amendment, G. McFeeters Holdings, Inc., file number 1601-016-17, be accepted.
Councillors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councillor Ganand and seconded by Councillor Bilsma. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. There's that familiar sound of the sidewalk cleaner outside. Must be that time of the year again. Communications, Niagara Region, Office of the Regional Clerk, proposed increase in composition of Regional Council by adding an additional member for West Lincoln. Request for consent resolution. Councillor Bilsma, you have that resolution, please.
I do, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Ganand, that the Council of the Corporation and Township of West Lincoln consents to the passage of bylaw number 2017-108 of the Regional Municipality of Niagara, being a bylaw to increase the composition of Regional Council by adding an additional councillor for the Township of West Lincoln.
Councillors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councillor Bilsma and seconded by Councillor Ganand. Is there any questions or comments? I see Councillor Chichuk and then Councillor Rayner. Go ahead, Councillor Chichuk.
Go ahead, Councillor Rayner.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Mayor, could you kindly just go over this a little bit so that everybody here understands exactly the purpose of what we're doing?
So what we're asking for is a vote today, and this vote is the same vote that we're asking of all 12 municipalities. Last Thursday at Regional Council, we had a regional vote. It did pass by a vote of 17-10. So now what we're doing is we're asking all 12 municipalities to also vote on this resolution, and this is part of the triple majority vote. So you need a majority of regional councilors, a majority of the municipal councils, but you also need a majority of the municipalities who hold the most population too as well in the Niagara region. So when you add all three of those elements together, if it passes, then West Lincoln will be successful in adding an additional regional representative for the 2018 election. Councillor Mike Rayner?
You said the vote was 17-10. Were there 4 absent?
There were 3 absent, and the chair doesn't vote unless it's a tie.
The chair doesn't vote,
Yeah.
so that's just 31.
So Lincoln was absent. 1 St. Catharines Regional Councilor was absent. And another St. Catharines Regional Councilor. Yeah. So 2 from St. Catharines, 1 from Lincoln.
And the chair does not vote.
And the chair doesn't vote.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Yeah.
Councilor Chichuk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page, and I see this calendar of what is when the actual lower tier councils are meeting, and I noticed that St. Catharines, West Lincoln, and Fort Erie are on tonight. Oh, and Niagara on the Lake. And I noted that you said that Councillor Bell regrets tonight for being off at Fort Erie. Can you tell me who else is going, because we did talk about how we would try to work with others, and can you tell me who else is going to what other meetings?
So, yeah, very good question. I will be asking other councilors either later on tonight or tomorrow. What we have to do is we have to actually nail down when the actual committee or council meetings are. It's not 100% correct. As it says, St. Catharines is tonight. We are actually not on the agenda for St. Catharines tonight because they're dealing with budget. So we will be on St. Catharines on the 18th. We are actually on Fort Erie, Port Colborne, West Lincoln, and Niagara on the Lake. Fort Erie, Port Colborne, West Lincoln, and Niagara on the Lake. Yes, I have them all. It was too quick to get anybody to go to Port Colborne or Niagara on the Lake. Councillor Bell said he would go to Fort Erie, the furthest one away tonight. But
No, it's just that we've all volunteered, and I didn't realize that you'd asked someone to be away tonight. With the snow, it would have been difficult, but I do want to know what the plan is so that we all have a chance to make representation
Yep.
with other municipalities.
Yep, so we'll have a schedule, like I said, come out tomorrow morning, once we confirm that the municipalities that are actually on those dates we are actually on their agenda.
I certainly want to make it look like we are unified on this,
Yeah.
or because having not the entirety of council attend at various other municipalities won't convince them that this is a request from all of us.
No, I agree, and as of, I believe it is next Monday, we'll all be going in all different directions, because I believe we have Lincoln, Grimsby, St. Catharines, and Pelham all on the same night. So the schedule will be coming out tomorrow once we confirm the dates. Okay?
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Anybody on this side? Questions, comments? No. Okay. All right, seeing no more questions or comments, I will call the vote. All those in favor? Thanks for making it unanimous. Okay. College Street Public School Principal and Parent Council Chair, they're requesting for new Smithville Public School, formerly South Lincoln High School. Councilor Trombetta, you have that resolution, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Rayner that the correspondence received from Mr. Todd Holliday, Principal of College Street and Public School Principal, and Mrs. Amanda Thompson, Parent Council Chair, dated December 4, 2017, requesting the following: installation of new sidewalks along the north side of Clover Street from Wade Road to Camberwell Street for the use by September 2018, and the establishment of a school zone along both Camberwell Street and Clover Street with reduced speed and lighting, and the relocation of the pedestrian lights at College Street and St. Catherine Street to Camberwell Street and Clover Street, or Culver Street, sorry, my mistake, or the installation of new crossing lights at the intersection of Camberwell Street and Culver Street, be received and referred to staff for review and to report back to us. Thank you.
Okay, councilors, you've heard the resolution by Councilor Trombetta, second by Councilor Rayner. Can I go to Ms. Shime or Ms. Langley with a report on this, please?
Through you, members of council, this was received late last week and
You turned yourself off.
turned it off, sorry. This request was received late last week. We wanted to put it forward to you now instead of in January so that it's on the radar, so that staff can consider it for budget and response. Some of it is regional, but we didn't want to wait that long because we wanted to get it disseminated. So it's here for referral and we will report back, and that's why it's on tonight.
Okay, so we have the installation of new sidewalks along the north side of Culver Street, so across the street from Wade in the west to Camberwell Street in the east, the establishment of a school zone along both Camberwell Street and Culver Street with reduced speed and lighting, and the relocation of the pedestrian lights at College Street and St. Catherine Street to Camberwell Street and Culver Street, or the installation of new crossing lights at the intersection of Campbell Street and Culver Street be received and referred to staff for review and report. Any questions or comments? Councilor Gann?
Pardon me, thank you. Can I just ask, when part of that is regional, then our staff will confer with the region about that, because it makes sense to remove the ones that are now representing the area that the children are crossing, but certainly they need to be moved here, but because that's a regional road, that makes a difference, right? So that's the process. Our staff would take a look at it first and then would confer with the region? Okay, good, all right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Ms. Langley? Is that your hand going up?
Oh, no, and I had a similar question.
Okay. I'm just wondering if we can actually take the crosswalk off of St. Catherine Street, though, because that's a very busy street, too, as well. And so either you make the kids cross at the lights, or you keep that crosswalk there. Because I just know that a lot of kids, as they're going north on Camberwell Street here, and instead of, crossing at the lights across Highway 20, they'll cut through on Frank Street in order to go east. So, they may be crossing without a crosswalk at all in that particular case. So I think we should look at this.
One last thing I didn't mention, and I'll perhaps get Shimei to elaborate. They are going to continue busing the students until June, so we have a little bit of time to deal with this change. And Joanne has participated in meetings and walkabouts with some representatives from transportation in the school. And so perhaps I could turn it over to her and she can explain with respect to, there may be need for additional crosswalks at other locations.
Okay. Shime?
So I have, sorry. So yes, I have participated in meetings with the region, the township, student transportation in the school a couple of times now. At our last meeting, I spoke with the principal and Niagara Transportation Services. They are doing a reduced walking route till June. So 800 meters out, students will be walking. Normal policy is 600 meters out, or 1,600 meters out. And so they are going to reduce that down until June to the 800. So we won't have as many walkers until next September, then it will be a full-blown. So at that point, we probably will need additional crossing guards. The area is quite large. In my mind, it is. So pretty well all of Alma Acres will be walking. Oakdale area, Harvest Gates area will all be walking. As far as, I think, Dufferin Street will be walking, and just no Northridge or anything like that where they have walked before, but some of West Street and, of course, behind us all here as well. So it is quite a large area. And like I said, we will require probably a crossing guard at least at Town Line Road, I feel. Town Line Road and Cambro Street, because we have, like I said, quite a few coming out of Alma Acres and Shuri Road area. And, but we don't have to institute that until September. We spoke about the lights at St. Catherine Street and College Street. The principal does not feel it's necessary that the students will go down to the lights. We have a little bit of a configuration change there where the crossing guards will only have to cross them from the CIBC parking lot over towards the Murgatroyd Park. Okay. Right now, currently, they cross on the other side of that intersection and they cross in front of Murgatroyd to that parking lot where the real estate office is. So they won't have to do that. Now there may be, we talked about putting a crossing on St. Catherine Street closer to Dufferin Street for the seniors. We may have to utilize that as well as a crossing, because I can foresee that we're going to have issues with children going across Region Road 20 perhaps. Trying to go through where the Legion is down Mill Street to cut off a little bit of time. So we may have to look at that, but I know that's on the radar for the region to put a crossing in similar to the one that's at South Grimsby Road 5 and West Street. So, yeah, so there is some things happening. Like I said, they do want to have the lights either relocated here that are at College Street and St. Catherine Street, or they want new lights. So we'll just have to put that past the region. That'll be there. Also the school zone, so it's something similar to what they have in front of St. Martin's School right now, where it's reduced down to 40 during certain times of the day, which is before school and after school. And yeah, so those are the types of things that the school is asking for right now.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Shime.
Councilor Gannett?
Yes, just further to that, Joanne, if I could, if you're part of that committee, realistically, the people on Alma now and Alma Acres cut through Rock Street. With the school the way it is, I would think you might want to consider looking at something almost at that stop sign or in the area of that now, closer to Rock Street to cross those kids.
Okay.
Because very few of them will walk all the way up and cross on Canberra.
Okay.
They'll cut through. They cut through now on their bikes and their scooters and they're, just playing back and forth. So kids being kids, something to just sort of throw into the mix maybe is, if you look at the map, you can see very easily how they would come out of there, either of those streets, and would cross over certainly closer. But if you can cut through Rock Street and down the path even, some of them will end up, crossing and going down the path. So
Okay.
anyway, something to think about going forward.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Very good. Seeing no more comments or questions, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. So this should be coming back to us in January or February for timing? Okay. Hopefully first quarter of 2018. Okay, Mayor's remarks. I don't have any remarks tonight. All I want to say is I wish everybody season's greetings, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, to all councilors, all staff, and to the residents of West Lincoln. Wish everybody the best of the holiday season, everything that that entails. So, to you and your loved ones, I hope you have a very good Christmas season. Report of Committee, Planning, Building, Environmental Committee, December 4, 2017 minutes. Confidential minutes are under separate cover. Councillor Chichuk, you have that resolution.
I do, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Trombetta that the minutes of the open session portion of the December 4th, 2017 Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting be accepted and the recommendations contained therein be approved, with the exception of item P151-17, and that the confidential minutes relating to the closed session portion of the December 4th Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting be accepted, and that the minutes remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with the exemptions provided in the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act.
Councillors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councillor Chichuk and seconded by Councillor Trombetta. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Councillor Ganang, can I ask you to take the...
Yeah, we actually each took one, so it happens that Councillor Billsma has.
Okay, I need somebody to take the chair, though.
I'm sorry, I thought you were...
Could you take the
That I
chair?
can do. I thought that you were asking us to take the minutes that Councillor Bell was supposed to have, so, anyway.
And
Councillor
Balsma has it?
Councillor Bell has it, yeah. Okay. Okay, so Councillor Billsma, you have the resolution.
Yeah, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Ganane. No, can't have that now.
No,
This one.
different one?
You can do it.
No, no, no.
Different one.
That's the one that's on the table.
Okay, wow.
Oh, the extracted item. There we go. That's what we're going to deal with first. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Rainer. Let's see if Jeff's. That item P 151-17 from December 4, Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting be approved. That item P 51-17 be as amended. One, I think this will all make sense once you see it. That report PD 170-17 regarding downtown Smithville Sustainable CIP Commercial Facade Improvement Funding Program update dated December 4 be received, and 2, that Township Planning Committee endorse the applications in principle, and 3, that Township staff be authorized to request regional staff to include funding in the West Lincoln CIP Facade Program in the 2018 regional budget as soon as possible.
Okay, so councillors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councillor Billsma and seconded by Councillor Rayner. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that motion carries.
Sorry, I screwed.
Thank you,
I thought we were ahead of you on the, looking after Councillor Bell's resolution.
Okay, we'll move on to Administration Finance Fire Committee, December 4, 2017 minutes. Confidential minutes are under separate cover. Councillor Bell did have it. Now Councillor Balsma has it, please.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Ganane that the minutes of the open session portion of the December 4, 2017 Admin Fire Finance Committee meeting be accepted and that the recommendations contained therein be approved, with the exception of any items, seeing none, that the confidential minutes relating to the closed session portion of the December 4
2017 Admin, Fire, and Finance Committee meeting be accepted and that the minutes remain confidential and restricted for public disclosure in accordance with the exemptions provided in the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act.
Councilors, for the resolution, moved by Councilor Belsma and seconded by Councilor Ganane. Is there any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, the definition for reconsideration and notice of motion to rescind is there for your viewing pleasure. We'll move on to other business. I'll start from my left to your right. Councilor Rayner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got a couple items
Okay.
if I could bring up. Number one, I attended the Alfreda Growth Area Study meeting in Hamilton last Wednesday, December the 6th, between 6 and 8 at the Valley Park Recreation Center. This was in regards to expanding the urban boundary of Hamilton, of which Hamilton has been doing a lot of in the last few years. The reason for it is the city of Hamilton is growing and the population is projected to increase to 660,000 by 2031. There was 3 different development scenarios presented there. And I guess part of the reason that I'm there was, number one, I was born and raised in downtown Hamilton, so obviously Hamilton has a lot of background in my life. I went to school all through public school, high school, and everything in Hamilton before going to university. So I know a lot about Hamilton. It also backs in to West Lincoln, and the impact of that could also be felt in West Lincoln. Basically, the scenario, the people that were there, the consultant, I spoke to the consultants in detail when I was there. There was a number of group tables put together. Most of them, the people that showed up were developers, surprise, surprise, and some farmers who had yet to sell their properties. Farmers, in the past have been labeled sometimes to be not the most well-educated in the world, but the ones who have held off in this particular case are certainly no dummies. And they're sitting there waiting to see what the scenario would be, and obviously the numbers they're going to ask are going to be a lot greater than the ones who've already conceded and sold. This is a vast area. You're talking 2,500 acres of land. A few years ago, they annexed 1,300 acres to expand the Hamilton Airport, and one councillor was saying, this is a very bad day for agriculture. I've never seen this much land, but there's a reason for it, and I guess I'm going to have to accept it. But there has been no comment about this one, and this is 2,500 acres of land, potentially up to 30,000 houses are going in here. And I spoke to the consultants and I said, you kind of got to walk before you run, crawl before you walk, however you want to look at it. And I said, this expansion and taking out agricultural land, I said, Hamilton is not ready for it yet. I said, the link, for example, is poorly designed. The traffic backs up all the way on it, morning and night. It's very poorly designed. It should have been 3 lanes each way, not 2, because one merges and that screws the other one up. The 403 all the way down Ancaster down to Hamilton is a nightmare every day. I mean, I watch the news every morning and it shows the blockages. And then the very next day, the police are calling for a $25 million new police station because the new one that they had built just a couple years ago, they're saying is too small. So you can't keep growing like this when your infrastructure is not ready, because the people who already live there are going to be subjected to all this increase when it's already a terrible situation. So they needed, and they agreed, they need to do a lot of homework before they do something like this. But I'm looking at this and I'm seeing the people sitting there and I'm thinking, you know my love for agricultural land and the fact that these people are sitting there, and it's almost like watching those movies when you hear of a chop shop where they take a very expensive car and they cut it all up to pieces and they end up selling it for more than the original car was worth. Well, this is like they're taking agricultural land and they're going around with the 3 different scenarios to see who can get the best deal and get it developed first and make the most money. And it's a sad state to watch this, especially kind of being a hypocrite in a way, because those same people go home at night and they have their supper and they're destroying the very land that probably some of their supper came from. So I mean, it's a weird situation. It's a massive expansion of Hamilton in an area that could affect us because it's our closest neighbor. And it's also going to affect the people who live there now because Hamilton is not ready to grow because they've already maxed out. I mean, their hospitals are going to be crying, the fire department's going to be crying, the police are already crying. Every time you expand, everything that was good at one point becomes insufficient. So when does it end? So I even said to the consultants, I said, is there an option 4? And they said, what's that? I said, don't do anything until they get their act together. And he just laughed. He said, we are seriously talking to Hamilton that they have infrastructure problems in a huge degree and that needs to be addressed before we create more problems by doing this. So at least I left with a little bit of comfort, but this is supposed to be progressing to the year 2031. I am on the list. The Hamiltons already called me. They're going to give me all the information on this, and I can keep you informed on it. But they are a neighbor. Hamilton is a city next door, and a lot of us, and I know Councillor Bell has said the traffic in the last few years in Hamilton has been awful. We do travel to the big city, and this will certainly affect the future of the big city. So it's something to keep in mind, and that's really what I wanted to say about that. The next thing I have is just an update.
Councilor Rayner, thank you for going there and attending that session for us.
You're welcome. It's unbelievable the size of it, Mr. Mayor. It crosses Highway 20. It goes practically to Bimbrook. It's huge, and they're going to be done in phases. They're at least talking the way that we talked with regards to the urban boundary expansion in Smithville. They're trying to do it the smart way they can, minimizing the amount of development unless they absolutely have to. But what they're trying to determine is where do we start and how do we start first? Do we put small apartment buildings in? Do we put condos in? Do we put a few single-family dwellings? What's the best way to start? And that's where they wanted the input from the public. The other part that I found shocking, actually, other than the fact that the farmers who are there that didn't sell yet to really see where this thing is going, is the lack of numbers that showed up. I mean, Hamilton is getting to be a very large city. And the east end of Hamilton on the escarpment, there's a lot of people there, and yet I thought this was going to be a massive packed gymnasium. It wasn't. To my surprise, there was maybe 6 tables with maybe 20 people around them, and they have representatives from the consultants. They had people from the City of Hamilton. I got a number of business cards from the planning department from the City of Hamilton, and it was almost like a developer's night saying, how do we cut up the goods that we just got to our best advantage? And it was very, I don't know, it was uncomfortable to see this. It was like the pirates. They get all their booty and then they spread it all out between all the guys that helped do the job. And it's almost like what they're doing is they're trying to work with each other to develop this thing as quick as they can. And it's scary, but I think the consultants will try to do it in a controlled way, and they're the ones that have to report to the city.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that that's the same thing like we said here. Let's do it smart, let's do it right, let's not waste land. And it's only through the consultants that I got a little bit of a comfort feeling of this, because this is massive growth. This is massive growth. But anyways, that's that part.
Okay.
The other thing was, I'd like to keep people up to date with regards to the coyote situation in Caister. There was a deer hunt last week, in which case a lot of people, including representatives from the Ministry of Natural Resources that I was in contact with, through a licensed hunting group that does Caister Center, went through the area, and they got another 4 coyotes, bringing the total now to 6 that they've got since I got a hold of them through the ministry to do a hunt. The interesting thing for me is, to me, there's obviously personal thing to this, to get this situation under control, because obviously it's out of control. When I stayed up late at night, the night after this happened, and watched outside, I seen a large black coyote, which I've never seen before. Usually they're not that color, and a whitish one, which is another weird color, because usually they're not that color. And 2 of the coyotes they got last week was black and white, and they said, we're shocked because we normally don't see that color. So I'm hoping the ones that hit my birds are gone. So there's now, and I like to say again, this is through no help from the Ministry of Agriculture and Food, which they should have been. This is totally the farmer taking it upon himself to get a hold of the Ministry of Natural Resources. You would think that OMAFRA would be interested in the well-being of the farmer, and they would be giving advice, they would be helping, they would assisting, they would be doing something. I haven't heard a word. They might not, as far as I'm concerned, even exist. And it's a sad state that that happens. But anyways, the other problem, of course, was they said that in my particular case that you have no proof because you don't have a picture of a coyote. So I was really thinking of FedExing them one of the carcasses on the weekend and sending it to Guelph and say, there you go. Not even you got a picture, you got the real animal. But it's getting to that point that I'm just so glad that we're finally getting it under control. Because obviously to get that many in that short a period of time, there must have been a lot of them up there. And they're telling me that there is still a lot more left. So we're not the only area. It's just that it's populated so much now that there's not enough wildlife to support the coyotes. They're now going after the domestic livestock of the farmers, and that's when you know you've got an overpopulation problem. So, thank you for your time.
Very good. Thank you for that report, Councillor. Councillor Trombetta?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just wanted to wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to all your family, all your relatives, all your coyotes out there. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I see that Councillor Rayner does have this big growth. Yeah, it does span all the way to Hendershot Road, which is pretty big. And it's quite informative how much it's growing. It's only 13 years away, which is 2031. So Councillor Rayner will be around to see it.
Can I ask a question about that? So in the Niagara region, we used to be, our growth projections were out to 2031. We've now started our growth projections out to 2041. Is Hamilton still dealing with 2031, or are they at 2041 as well?
2040.
I think the number is a little light, I think, right? 2031, like I said, it's only 13 years away. I don't think that projected growth is, well, it could be wrong, but to sustain it all, I'm not sure, but we'll have to find out from Councillor Rayner, who attended the meeting, if that's.
Mr. Mayor, they had mentioned 2041. The consultants had mentioned 2041.
Right.
And that this thing was supposed to project out to 2041. They're not even sure by 2041 would all of it be utilized, because they said there's things that could happen, such as the country goes into a major recession. That will stop everything. They said it's just based on what it sits right now and their projected growth. This was presented, like the region presented to us, that this is what the population is going to be of West Lincoln in the next 30 years. This is what you should be prepared for. Basically, the province have come to the city and said, this is where your growth is going to, 660,000 in the year 2031. You better look at ways to handle this volume. The thing I wish that some of the cities would look at is what I said, is the fact that their infrastructure is maxed out right now. And by adding these number of people, it just adds huge cost to all the other facilities that are required to handle this. There's just like my mother used to say one time when you were doing something, enough is enough, son, enough is enough. Well, one day somebody's got to say, we're maxed out, everything's perfect. If we grow any bigger, we're going to screw everything up, and we're going to spend millions of dollars doing police stations, ambulance, hospitals, fire department. Let's just say we're happy the way we are. And I wish somebody would just say that, because otherwise this is like an infectious disease. Every time you expand, you're creating a problem somewhere else. Because like the link was never, if you go to Waterloo on Highway 8 off the 401, it's 6 lanes wide. They were every time I go there, it's so brilliant how they built it for the future. They built it for 2050. And the link is only 2-lane, one of it merges. So that's a screw up to start with. Why it wasn't 3-lane wide to start with? Hamilton does not have the infrastructure to handle the volume of people that they have in the city right now. And now they're trying to do this. And it's going to cost a fortune to correct it. I can't see that all being corrected before they start doing this, which means what they've got now is going to be even worse. I feel sorry for the people that have to travel the roads.
Okay, Councillor. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Trombetta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just not to get with Councillor Rayner going, but the Link and the Red Hill are designed for 3-lane. They designed it at the moment for 2-lane to deal with the amount of population. But it is designed to extend those lanes in the future. So just for your information, I understand you say it's tight now, but it has been both engineered to be designed to expand later in the future. But again, all that setting aside, just wish everyone a Merry Christmas to all the families, to all the staff here at West Lincoln. It's been a great year, and let's hope we have a great year next year, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Trombetta. Councillor Chichuk, would you like to weigh in on the Hamilton growth?
Well, Mr. Mayor, I tell you, there's people around here who think that all I want to do is remind people of where I was part of a municipality that was tremendously successful. So tonight, I think that Councillor Rayner should know that I was very involved in the link and the Red Hill. And we didn't have enough money to go more than 2, but we do have the parkway dedication, so the land is there, and it will happen at the right time. So, and whenever that happens, but remember, that parkway belt dedication happened, somewhere in the 60s, I believe, so, and it got built in the 80s. So, just for the record, it's a road close to my heart, and it is busy. But since Mr. Councillor Rayner has brought it up, 2041 is the number that's the overshadowing. They had till 2031, and that's what they're doing, exactly what we are. But I do think that Councillor Rayner raises a good point before I go into what I was going to say, and that is, since our hospitals are westbound and we are part of the Hamilton hospital network, we will want to make very sure. And I know that the mayors of West Lincoln, and Grimsby are meeting with various people in the hospital, but I still belong to the Hospital Advisory Committee, and we are making a lot of noise to get them to consider that if the growth continues to happen, it's going to impact the services that our people are going to have. So, one, we want to get the hospital rebuilt to some configuration that maintains maternal child as well as emergency, and still keeps the Blue H on top of the building, but it probably limits some of the range of services, but certainly triage is going to be there for us all, and will be immediately triaged and sent to a hospital where it's better fitting. We just want to hope that those hospitals aren't over capacity, and include West Lincoln as well. And I know you'll continue to help us with that. Councillor Rayner's other point, and I don't think this was what we were planning on doing, but Councillor Rayner makes another point, and that is other municipalities, much like Mississauga in their time, did talk to developers and say that the development of their municipality was going to be halted until services such as school, hospitals, and various other fundamental issues were dealt with in a plan, either for the developers to front end them if the school boards weren't going to do them, had to be put in place. And those solutions do come. So I think that's what we have to look at, is the comprehensive solutions on how we grow, where we grow, when we grow, our way, smart way, whatever. Now, having said that, because it is Christmas and I have been watching that whole development of Alfreda as well, I would say that yes, it is time to say it is the close of another year, but it is a time where many faiths celebrate a new beginning, a new start, and I want to wish whatever that custom is, as you said, Mr. Mayor, Hanukkah, Christmas, and or any other. Let me think. I'm trying to think of the one that's
Nationalities or?
Well, the various nationalities, et cetera.
Yeah.
But there was one on the tip of my tongue. But to all who are celebrating something special, with new life, new birth, and a chance to be close to family, friends, and loved ones, and remembering that the reason for us to be here, the reason is to be kind, gentle, and to embrace each other in human dignity. And I'd like to see that to all of you, to the people of this community. So, have a Merry Christmas, have a Happy Hanukkah, have a happy whatever it is you're celebrating.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Gannett?
Well, the other side of the table has been very profound. I also want to wish everybody, of course, the best of the season, whether it's Merry Christmas or Happy Hanukkah or whatever. However, I had two other small things that I wanted to talk about, and one of them I think is a little bit close to my heart because I happened to be in your chair when the young people from 4-H came forward to receive some recognition for being doing well at the Royal this last year. So this year, when I opened the Niagara Farmers Monthly, there was another large spread showing the celebration that the 4-H had, the Niagara North 4-H. And so I'd like to pay a little tribute to all of those, of the approximately 100 students or young people who take part, and to their leaders for that celebration. And also, Jonathan Dugdale, who was here that night, Mr. Mayor, when you were away, was back at the Royal again and did well with some Frankie's Goats with the Battersby, and I thought that was very good. And although Councillor Chichok didn't say it, I have Andrew Chichok also, who entered some fleece and did very well as well, some long wool black fleece. So I thought they all deserve some recognition. And the other thing I wanted to say briefly, and I'm not sure if you are aware, but since I was aware of something and brought it up last time, I thought I'd better bring this up as well. There is another grassroots movement going on to try to reestablish a service club in West Lincoln. And so I thought I would put that date out well in advance, January the 18th at 7 o'clock at the Legion. A man who I do not know, whose name is Scott Crawford, has been posting on Facebook trying to see if there's some interest in reestablishing. He isn't looking at whether it's Lions or Kinsman or Rotary or whatever, just simply looking at once again trying to establish some kind of a service club in our municipality. So I thought that was also a bit of good news, so
So
thank you.
where would the meeting be held?
The Legion,
At the Legion, okay.
7 o'clock, January 18th. That's all I know at this point, but I thought I would, when I saw the date and a time set aside, I thought I would make all council members aware of that.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks for bringing that forward. Councilor Bosma?
Not unless it's Christmas, that's it. I think risk of
What's
asking-
Christmas like in your house, Councilor?
Lots of kids. It's the best way to celebrate kids, Christmas, hang around kids. Yeah, it's big, it's old, it's family. Anyways, someday I'll have you all over and whatever. Just sit around the big table and just eat food. And at the risk of asking Councilor Rayner another question, I'll just cut it off.
Staff, Ms. Langley, anything to share?
Not really, except Merry Christmas to everyone, or whatever, however you celebrate. But I do have 2 new items of business on the next item.
Sure. Okay. Ms. Shime, anything to say?
Just Merry Christmas to everybody and a
Yeah.
Happy New Year. And
Doug,
happy birthday.
Sorry,
Next
my
year.
passion, I should have also said, I wish everybody the best. I just got too wound up in what I was doing. But yes, it is Christmas, and it is a time for family. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, everyone. And, as much as we get involved every single day in municipal and regional and provincial and federal politics, there comes a time over the Christmas season, maybe we just got to forget about it for 5 or 10 days too as well and put it on the back burner and just do family stuff. So, okay, we're going to move on to new items of business. We have Ms. Langley that wants to bring forward 1 or 2. 2, I believe.
Through the members of council, there are 2 items I wish to put forward to you. The first one relates to a bylaw required for a report that was done in October. We were missing some details, so we were unable to put the bylaw forward, and the details have come forward, and unfortunately, we realized it after the agenda was struck. And it's simply because it has to be signed before the end of the year, and it is to authorize a condominium assumption agreement. So that bylaw will come forward, and it's just the bylaw, so it'll be dealt with under bylaws. The other item I would like to bring forward, which I erroneously deleted from the agenda, was an update on the CAO recruitment. So Joanne has the motion for new items of business.
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, Ms. Councilor Chichuk.
That wasn't the Joanne she meant, Mr. Mayor, but that's okay.
Either will do.
Joanne, pass to Joanne.
Moved by Councillor Shime, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Trombetta, that leave be granted to introduce the following new items of business. Bylaw number 2017-139 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into a condominium assumption agreement between the Corporation of the Township of West Lincoln and Catalina Construction and Landscaping Corporation and a condominium corporation, Niagara North Standard Condominium Corporation, number to be determined, and 2, closed session personal matter, CAO recruitment, applicable closed session exemption, leading to personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, employees, and 2, labor relations or employee negotiations.
Councilors have heard the resolution moved by Councilor Chichuk and seconded by Councilor Trombetta. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, we'll move on to bylaws and, okay. Councilor Chichuk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Trombetta that leave be granted to introduce bylaw 2017-139 and that the same shall be considered to to have been read a first, second, and third time with one reading and is thereby adopted, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and affix the corporate seal thereto, any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding.
Okay, so we're going a little bit backwards here, so
Here we are.
what I'll just do is put this aside for a second, and we'll go to, yeah, but we have 133 to 138 and then 139. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's just the new item of business, so I know we're out of sequence because we
I
had
got
to
you,
add
you're
the
right.
one.
Okay, so seeing, is there any questions or comments about it? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you, clerk. I get where you're going now,
Sorry.
because it's in sequence to coincide with the new item of business. Okay. The bylaws, 133 to 138. Councillor Gadan, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Bilsma that leave be granted to introduce bylaws 2017-133, 2017-134, 2017-135, 2017-136, 2017-137, and 2017-138, and that the same shall be considered to have been read a first, second, and third time with one reading, and are hereby adopted, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and affix the corporate seal thereto, any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding.
Thank you, councillors. You've heard the resolution and the bylaws moved by Councillor Gadan and second by Councillor Balsma. Is there any questions or comments? Councillor Rayner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know this term, we've shortened this process a lot because I used to read these out. But looking at it from the trying to be accurate and correct point of view, sometimes maybe when you read these, there may have been an error and you can catch it because you've read them.
Sure.
And when you don't do that, I would think most of us just glance over this because we know it's going to be whitewashed, and there could be something in it that could be incorrect that you would catch if you take the time to read it. It's just a suggestion. We've always read it in the past, and it doesn't mean that there's going to be a mistake in the future, but it's a good way to double check before you finally put your hand up to confirm that these bylaws are going to be effective.
Okay, thank you. I have my opinion about that, but is there any other questions or comments about that, Councillor, or Mrs. Langley?
Through you to members of council, if there is an error that is discovered after the fact, I do have authority to make minor adjustments to bylaws, so we should be covered.
Okay. See no more questions or comments about the bylaws? All those in favor? And it's carried. Okay, we're going into confidential resolution to go into closed session. Councillor Balsma, you have that resolution, please.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Ganan. That the next portion of this meeting is closed. The public to consider the following pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001A. Acting CAO Clerk Carolyn Langley. Read legal property matter industrial wind turbine project road use agreement tree replacement applicable closed session exemptions. The security of the property of the municipality or local board, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, advice is subject to solicitor by privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. B, acting CAO clerk Carol Langley, read personnel matter, staffing issues, applicable closed session exemptions, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, labor relations or employer negotiations. C, acting CAO clerk Carol Langley, read personnel matter, CAO recruit, applicable closed session exemptions, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, labor relations or employee negotiations.
Okay. And so there's a D. To add, what was that date again, please?
November 27th, confidential council minutes, and when we determine what the adjustment is, we'll apply the closed session exemptions that we use for that item.
Hey, Acting CEO, I need just the last half of that. Right now, I've got D, to add November 27, 2017, confidential minutes under separate cover. Is that good enough? Okay. All those in favor? That is carried. We are now in closed
I'm
session.
just going to shut down.
Councilors, let's just wait to the